Yo, what's going on, E7 fam? Pat here, back finally with a how to play video. December and January, in case you didn't know, I was plagued with health issues and the potential thought and possibility of being permanently deaf. But thankfully, we caught it in time, had some wonderful doctors, and that is all hopefully behind us. And then February, I was pretty much just swamped with actual real life obligations and work. So hopefully you'll forgive me. This is the first how to play video of 2023, and it will be on Zeo. And all the things you've come to expect from me should be in this video. Things like stats, skills, possible equipment builds for you to try out for endgame players, and then also some matchup knowledge if that's your thing. You may notice from the runtime of this video that it is a lot shorter than some of the previous how to play videos, and that is intentional. I'm trying to bring it back to how it was around the time when I made how to play Spectre Tenebria. So things are going to be a lot more trim. Things will move at a much brisker pace. Hopefully that doesn't disappoint some of you guys who are hoping for a lot more exposition than I normally give, like you see here in this intro. So let me know after you've watched it what your thoughts are. Do you want me to keep them this length or not? Again, let me know down in the comments below after you finish the video. Until then, though, enjoy. Zeo is a dark mage of the Aries zodiac symbol, sharing a stat line with the blue mage Edda. When we take a look at his actual stats, he has high attack as well as high starting critical hit chance and a decent amount of starting effectiveness. He has average defense and speed compared to other 5 stars in Epic 7, and his health stat is pretty bad at 5,016. As a bit of trivia before moving on to the skills section, in the English dub of Epic 7, Zeo is voiced by Zeno Robinson, who you may know as Hawks from My Hero Academia, or as the current voice of Tai from the Digimon franchise. In the Japanese dub of Epic 7, Zeo is voiced by Yusuke Kobayashi, who you may recognize as the main character of Dr. Stone, Senku, or the main character of ReZero in Natsuki Subaru.
Are you going to provide some entertainment?
Zeo's S1 is Let Me Destroy You. It is a single target attack with a 0.7x attack multiplier and grants an attack buff to Zeo for 1 turn. If Zeo has the DFI status, which he obtains from his S3, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, then he also gets an additional attack in Disappear. Disappear is a follow-up attack that can only be triggered on Zeo's turn. Disappear is a single target attack with a 1x attack multiplier, as well as a 50% defense penetration rate. If Disappear secures a kill, Zeo gets 50% combat readiness. Both Let Me Destroy You and Disappear have pretty bad multipliers. Let Me Destroy You in particular is well below average for an S1, and Disappear is just average. However, the attack buff on Let Me Destroy You, assuming you do not have Unbuffable on Zeo, means that Disappear's damage will always be amped up, and 50% defense penetration, as I say a lot here on this channel, is no joke. So, when you consider that it's 2 attacks with an attack buff and defense penetration rate, the damage is actually pretty impressive. On top of that, 50% combat readiness on a kill makes it so that he'll take extra turns, and it also synergizes really, really well with a mage artifact such as Time Matter. That provides a lot of damage to the combo, by the way, and if you're looking to build Zeo as a damage dealer, you're going to want to focus on the very first build we talk about in the next section, which is the character builds. Zeo's S2 passive is his signature skill in Supreme Authority. At the start of the first battle, Zeo gains 10 to 20% combat readiness depending on Molagora, and this combat readiness increase is unaffected by any effects that would decrease this combat readiness increase. Essentially, that's a really convoluted way of saying Apologist doesn't really stop this combat readiness increase, as well as potentially any other future heroes that are released after this video is made. If you can't tell, Zeo is a character that is designed to go first, so when we talk about him in the next section for character builds, he is almost always going to be on the speed set. One thing you need to be in the habit of when playing Zeo is learning how to compute his approximate speed. In Epic 7, the fastest unit starts the game at 100% combat readiness. All other units are placed on the combat readiness bar after that between 50 and 99% based on how much slower they are than the fastest person. After this combat readiness calculation is done, Zeo gains his 20% combat readiness from Supreme Authority. This means that if Zeo's speed is within 80% of the fastest person's speed, he will take the turn as 80% of their speed plus 20% from the passive equalizes or exceeds that speed. This means that you would need a 240 speed Zeo to match a 300 speed opener, as 240 is 80% of 300. How fast you are going to need Zeo depends entirely on your skill bracket in World Arena and things like maybe Guild Wars. For this video, we will use 240 speed as a base, as it outspeeds most players and most characters until you reach the Emperor rating in World Arena. For those of you who are very high level players, say Emperor or Legend players watching this video, 256 to 264 speed is where you will want to be if your goal is to outspeed a potential 315 plus speed target. If you want to be absolutely sure that you have first on this character, I find it really hard to imagine anyone outspeeding a 272 speed Zeo, as you would need 341 speed at that point to do so. Zeo's S3 is Bow Down Before Me. You acquire 3 souls upon use and has a 5 to 6 turn cooldown depending on Molagora. It is a single target attack with a 0.2x attack multiplier. It deals damage additionally equal to 18.75% of the target's current health. This move has a 100% defense penetration rate and cannot score a critical hit. It also dispels 2 buffs from the target before pushing back their combat readiness by 30 to 40% depending on Molagora. The move also grants Deify to Zeo for 3 turns. Deify is an undispellable buff that not only grants the extra attack disappear on the S1, but gives Zeo 50% critical hit chance and 50% damage reduction as well. That's a lot to unpack, so let's talk about it. When you consider that Zeo has 27% starting critical hit chance and 50% from Deify, which you're going to want to use as his first turn anyway to actually get the extra damage component on the S1, you don't really need a whole heck of a lot of critical hit chance on this character. 50% damage reduction is also super big, because unlike getting 50% extra defense, this basically takes the total damage that Zeo would have taken and then cuts the number in half at the end of the equation. That means he doesn't really need a whole heck of a lot of bulk, because he'll at least be able to take a hit or two as long as he has the DFI buff active. We also have to table back and talk about the damage that Bow Down Before Me does. It has a 0.2x attack multiplier, which is abysmal, but it does have that damage proportional scaling equal to the target's remaining health. Realistically, this move is going to do between 30 to 50% of a target's remaining health based on a number of factors. For example, higher health heroes, say like 30k HP tanks, take far less damage from Bow Down Before Me than say like a squishier character or a bruiser in the 15 to 18k HP range. Zeo's attack does have some influence over it, so if you decide to go an effectiveness build and lean into the silence from Bow Down Before Me, then yeah, that's going to obviously reduce the damage as well. As a general rule of thumb, you can expect like 40 to 50% of the target's remaining health dealt as damage. If you want to use this thing as a kill shot, I would highly recommend you do not. It's really only going to kill in situations where you would expect like a tank or a support S1 to kill, something like 15-ish or so, 100 HP or less. That's kind of where you want to be. So like if they're not at like 1.5k or less HP, you're better off using the S1 if you need to guarantee secure that kill. Zeo's Soulburn makes it so that the 2 buff dispel on Bow Down Before Me is changed to dispelling all buffs from a single target for the cost of 10 souls. I don't think I've ever actually used this Soulburn. Zeo usually is taking the first turn, and in the games I'm picking him in, the game has been decided long before the DFI buff actually wears off and Bow Down Before Me is available again. So if you're actually in a position to use this Soulburn, something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. When it comes to Molagora priorities, max Zeo's S2 Supreme Authority first. The primary reason you're choosing him is to take the first turn, so you might as well be as fast as possible. After that, if you want to build Zeo as a damage dealer, focus on his S1 Let Me Destroy You, or if you want to build him as a disruptive opener, focus on his S3 Bow Down Before Me. If you are going to use this character heavily, which I think you should because he's very good as of the recording of this video, I would highly recommend maxing the entire character out and taking him into plus 15 eventually. The first build that we're going to be talking about in this video is a damage-based build for players that want to leverage the defense penetration on the extra attack disappear in Zeo's kit. Taking a look at the sets, we're going to be on speed set with penetration as the offset. Speed set in order to leverage the S2 passive on the character, and penetration to get the most amount of single target damage possible. If you decide not to play penetration set, critical hit chance set is a decent option for making the character easier to gear. And if you don't want to play that, you could potentially choose something like, say, health or defense set, because they synergize decently well with the buff provided by Zio's S3 in DFI. For both builds on this character, I'm going to assume that you have a triple S imprint Zio, as he only needs gold transmit stones in order to achieve this, as he is a boss character. You can purchase his imprint materials from the game's shop. Taking a look at the desired stats, we have 3,500 attack, 1,200 defense, 11k health, 240 speed, 50% critical hit chance, 270% critical hit damage, and the starting 18% effectiveness, but that will be 45 if you do have a triple S imprint. Couple of notes: if you can't hit the bulk stats that I have here of 1,200 defense and 11k health, you could consider 1,100 defense and 10k health instead. I think that is a fine margin as well. 240 speed is the baseline for this character for the reasons that we talked about in the previous section. 240 speed Zio equates to essentially a 300 speed character. If you need to outspeed somebody faster than 300, I encourage you to go to a higher speed threshold. I personally play 255. Taking a look at the right side now, we have a critical hit damage necklace in order to boost our damage. Critical hit chance necklace doesn't really do anything because we already have high base starting critical hit chance. And remember, we have the DFI buff. Ring is attack percentage, and boots are going to be speed. The artifact I've chosen for this build is Time Matter because I think it synergizes the best with the character, provides a decent amount of damage, and has great synergy with the S1's extra attack Disappear. If you choose not to play Time Matter, Frame of Light, which is Igisel's artifact, could be a decent option, as well as Black Hand of the Goddess. These both give damage on the character. And if you just want the utility, or you just don't have one of these options, Ancient Book, as always, is an option because it's the best artifact in the game, and Zio's a mage, therefore he can hold it. Taking a look at the per piece average, we have 13% attack, 13 speed, 10% critical hit damage, and then I have listed other, which is, as always, going to be a mixture of things like health, defense, or whatever else you're looking for. The second build in this video is an effectiveness build that is really strong at making sure that you land the silence on Zio's very first turn when he uses Bow Down before me. This in particular is very good if you intend to be playing against a lot of high effect resistance Conqueror Lilius openers, or even something like Desert Jewel Bazaar if you're trying to silence him. Taking a look at the primary sets, we are on a speed set with a hit offset, speed set to leverage the S2 passive, hit set to get the most amount of effectiveness. If you don't want to play hit set, as always, you could play something like health or defense set because they synergize decently well with the DFI buff from the S3. As always, assuming that we're on a triple S imprint on Zio for the same reasons we talked about in the last section. Attack is 1,936. This is just the base attack with the I-90 weapon and a recommended artifact. Similar story here with defense of 962. Same thing here with the health at 7,841. Speed is 255 on this build because I think that this one, more so than the damage one, absolutely needs to guarantee you go first, even against the fastest of units. Critical hit chance is 50%. That is simply so that way we can just do some amount of damage and not hit entirely like a wet noodle. You can choose to skip this if you want, but considering how low of an investment it is to get 100% critical hit chance on this character, might as well go for it. Critical hit damage is 150%, and effectiveness is 230%. The reason for that number for the effectiveness is this is the range that I've seen most people be effective at. Personally, 170 to 180 has worked fine for me for characters like Sage Ball and Cezanne and Solitaria in the past. So if you can't hit 230 with the rest of these stats, by all means drop it down that low. Taking a look at the right side gear, I'm on a critical hit damage necklace because there's not really too many other great options on the character here. Again, you're going to be getting to that 50% critical hit chance super easy. Might as well actually cash in and get a decent amount of damage. Again, if you don't want any damage on the character, you could play health percentage or defense percentage in this slot. Ring is effectiveness in order to help us do our job, but you could again play attack percentage if you so chose to get some amount of damage on the character, kind of like a hybrid build. Boots are going to be speed, and the artifact here is going to be Ancient Book. I think it is the best option you could play for the character for this role, although Bloody Rose, which is Melissa's artifact, has seen some success with some players, so I feel like I should include it here. Looking at the per piece average, we have 20% effectiveness, 16 speed, 4% critical hit chance to get to that 50%, and then some distribution of whatever other stats you're looking for. Let's close out the video with some matchup knowledge now for Zio. This is a character that really excels against aggressive play styles. The combination of his S2 Supreme Authority plus S3 Bow Down Before Me allows him to shut down many of the game's most oppressive openers and serve up easy kills for his team against many squishy, aggressive DPS. He is bad, though, in a fair number of spots. For example, he's bad against openers that start in stealth with Guiding Light, as he has no real way to interact with them. He's also bad in spots where you're going to be forced to attack into a counter unit or a dodge based unit, such as Savior Aiden. Finally, as tempting as it is to pick Zio first because you want that first turn, he's really, really bad into tanky drafts that include heroes like Arwell or Apocalypse Ravi. The damage on Disappear, even with the 50% defense pen, is nice, but it's not going to be chopping down an entire team of 20k plus health bruisers. Where Zio really excels is with teammates who have high impact, aggressive starts of their own. Although you absolutely can make him work in a standard or bruiser draft. Just don't be too gung-ho, like I said, on drafting him early. Otherwise, you're bound to run into a bunch of bruisers in the second half of your opponent's draft. And that's going to do it for How to Play Zio. Hopefully you enjoyed this style of format for the How to Play series. I should have another How to Play video out hopefully sometime by the very end of this week, schedule and other things permitting. If you want to see more guides in a similar style to this one, there should be a playlist on your screen now. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Have a good one now.